Welcome. We are so glad that all of y'all are here for the 2021 annual meeting of the LSU Museum of Art. And you're here in person, which is a new event for us in a while. I want to hereby convene this meeting, and the first order of business will be to ask John Everett to present to you the minutes from the 2020 annual meeting.
Okay, thank you so much. I believe you'll find in your chairs or in every other chair, I'm not sure how many people actually had a copy, but the last annual meeting was August 13th, 2020. You should have a copy. And if you could take a look at those, this was, if you recall, COVID was still in we were in the throes of COVID before things started to decline a little bit. And so this was a virtual meeting. It was not in person. And if you would take a look at those, I would ask to have a motion to have those minutes accepted.
Do we have a motion to accept Becky? I can't recognize anybody with the mask on.
Thank you. We have a second.
To accept the minutes. We have a second. All in favor? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
And if you would now present the report for us.
Yeah, so if you look here, the first slide is kind of a presentation of the expenses through the year. So this covers the period of really July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. This kind of details the expenses during the year. Really, most prominent expenses is really related to the Shaw Center, our contribution and our utilities expense. Exhibition, collections, education, and programs deals with salaries dedicated to education and outreach efforts. We had other operating expenses, but at the end of the day, our expenses totaled $2,174,554.01. And if you'd flip the screen, the good news is that our total revenues totaled $2,215,867.04. Primarily coming from LSU operating support, $732,000, as well as other state support, $600,000. We had earned revenues, which really consists of sales and admissions revenue and so forth, $253,000. Obviously, with COVID going on, that was down a little bit over the previous year. Endowment income was $170,000. Contributed revenues, which consists of individual contributions, corporate contributions, and the like, were about $397,000. So the good news here is that in a very difficult environment, right, a very difficult year, total revenues eclipsed total expenses by about $43,000, and we managed to have a surplus for the year, which is really a testament to Daniel and his management of expenses and revenues during a very difficult time. So, and with that, should I ask for a motion to accept the financial report, please?
Carol knows. Do we have a second? All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm the call. All right. We have really been so lucky for the last 2 years to have had Stephen Heymsfield leading us as chair of the advisory board. He's led us through COVID and Zoom meetings and closings and partial openings and canceled this and canceled that. And he did a marvelous job. And if you would come up for just a minute, and Daniel, we want to recognize your service. Put this back on.
Yeah.
So
we have a couple of gifts for you, Stephen, that just to recognize it, because you really did do an awesome job. But I want to credit this entire team, that the board, the membership, the sponsors, the donors, that you helped us shepherd through this time, because it's not been easy. So I'd like to give you a gift. There's actually 2 gifts in there. Wow. One of them is by Julie Janot, a glass artist who's been in our store, I think, since we opened in this building. And the other one is kind of something that you can use at your leisure. It's a nice gavel so that you can, call your dinner to order at night. Right. Do you want to say anything? You want?
Well, it's just been such a pleasure to be on the board, and I've met so many nice people, both employees of the museum and on the advisory board. I can't think of a better task to take on, and I wish Nancy the best of luck. Thanks very much.
Even though she couldn't be here tonight, we also want to recognize Susanna Johansson. She has been the president of the Friends Group and in ex officio capacity served on the advisory board as well. And she also served as the chair of the development committee of the advisory board. She has now taken the position of executive director of the Division of the Arts for the state of Louisiana. So she is no longer on the Friends Group, but we do thank her for her service, and she couldn't be here tonight, but we do have something for her, and we'll catch up with her later. We are very grateful for the service of the members who are rolling off of the board at this point. We appreciate the contributions of their times and talent that they have made. They have been wonderful board members, and the board members whose terms of service have ended are Beth Fuller, Brian Schneider, Kay Martin, and Mary Ratcliffe. Mary was our student member. Wait, I can't see anybody there. Thank you so much. And thanks to all of these four for their service. And if we, I'd like to give these. I would also like to ask anybody who is a past or present member of the advisory board to stand. Let's see who we have here tonight. Past or present. Okay. Thank you all for your service. I know that the advisory board members, both past and present, feel as I do, that it really is an honor to be associated with the LSU Museum of Art. The museum is a cultural and intellectual resource for the state of Louisiana and also for Baton Rouge. And we're lucky to be here in Baton, those of us who live here who have such ready access to it. The museum was founded in am I doing something wrong? Okay. The museum was founded in 1959 and was opened to the public in 1962 as a small museum and memorial tower on the LSU campus. And its trajectory and its future really changed when it moved into this building in 2005, the Shaw Center for the Arts. Here it has 13,000 square feet of fabulous exhibition space, and the collection now holds over 6,500 objects. Those objects range from a really show-stopping Chinese jade collection to a wonderful and very thorough collection of Louisiana art. As a result of the recently implemented REILLY initiative for underrepresented artists, the museum has the resources now to expand its collection to better represent all of Louisiana's citizens. And in March of 2021, the museum opened a special permanent exhibition collection that spotlights recent acquisitions of works by Black artists. I'm also very proud of the museum's relationship with the community from an educational standpoint. The Neighborhood Arts Project was begun in 2012, and this project is a free art outreach program for those areas in and around Baton Rouge that might be neighborhoods where the children might not be able to go to summer camp or to participate in summer or after school programs. So the LSU Museum of Art goes into those neighborhoods and sets up pop-up tents. The accessibility of this program is enormous because the program goes to the children. The program goes to the neighborhoods. The pop-up programs have occurred in multiple sites in different neighborhoods, including Eden Park, Gardere, Melrose East, Old South, and Scotlandville. And this summer, there was actually one session here at the museum to serve the neighborhoods that are close to town. In the summer of 2020, the Neighborhood Arts Program, of course, had to be modified because of COVID. So the museum created activity kits that were delivered by museum staff and volunteers into the neighborhoods to the children, so that the children who have limited arts education access could participate in art activities during the summer in spite of COVID. In 2021, the Neighborhood Arts Program has been more hands-on again and has brought instructors, mentors, artists, and supplies into the communities to encourage and promote learning, creativity, and engagement in the arts by our children. Another popular program is Arts Works, which has brought elementary school classes into the building and actually into this room. Pre-COVID, the board would meet in that room and you would come through this room walking around all of the various art projects that were all over the floor because the classrooms had either been there this morning or they were coming that afternoon. It's really a wonderful program where we are exposing these school children to the museum and to art. Visit the museum and see the art enrichment area for children. I think it's as interesting to adults as it is to children, actually. And when you come to the museum, be sure and visit the museum shop. On the first floor of this building is the gift shop. And it's full of wonderful items that you can use for your gift giving needs, even if it's a gift to yourself. So, I want to say that due in very large part to our talented and dedicated executive director, Daniel Stetson, and also to his equally talented and hardworking staff, this museum connects with and is important to our community and our state in very meaningful and significant ways. I find the exhibitions always interesting and captivating. I try to go to as many as I can. For me, it's a learning experience. I am very proud to be a member of the advisory board of the LSU Museum of Art, and I know that all of you value that relationship just like I do. Now let's move on with our agenda. I want to ask Yvette Marsh to present to you the officers for this coming year and the new members and returning members.
Thanks, Nancy, and good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Nominations Board Management Committee, along with our board chair, I have the pleasure of recognizing the 2021-22 officers of the advisory board, as shown on your agenda. First, Nancy Dougherty, our chair. Ben Jeffers, our vice chair. You can give a pageant wave if you'd like. John Everett, secretary treasurer. And Stephen Heymsfield, immediate past chair. A huge thank you to each of you for your continued involvement, your commitment, and your leadership. Just as exciting as continued engagement and leadership is new engagement, as evidenced by our 4 new board members. So serving their first 3-year term are Blaine Grimes, you can stand. Blaine previously served as the Business Development and Financial Education Officer at Campus Federal Credit Union. He served on numerous committees and boards, with most recently all were actually related to financial education and community service. Our second new board member, Randell Henry, who is not, yeah, okay, Randell. Randell is an associate professor and curator of the Southern University Visual Arts Gallery at Southern University. He presently serves on the boards of the Baton Rouge Gallery, as well as the Du Bois Foundation. Stephen Miller is our third new board member. Stephen. He is a certified financial planner professional with Raymond James and Associates. He's a current board member at the Baton Rouge Area Kids for Golf Foundation and the Knock Knock Children's Museum. And last but certainly not least, Winifred Riley, who is not here, but in her absence, let us duly recognize her. Winifred is a visual artist who's lived and worked in Baton Rouge for more than 36 years. She uses a variety of materials and processes to create textural pieces that are both bold and lively and can be seen at Ann Connolly Fine Art. She enjoys engaging in the daily life of our community and introducing her grandchildren to the great outdoors. We are all grateful for your support, and we look forward to your service on the board.
Take over for just a minute because one of our members who just completed a one-year term and is now beginning her first three-year term is Yvette Marsh. And we are so happy that she has joined us.
That would have been a little weird to recognize myself, right? So finally, recognizing second-term board members, Sanford Arnst, Margaret Benjamin, who cannot be with us today, and Becky Gotsagen. Thank you.
I want to recognize a new honorary board member. In addition to the mayor and the lieutenant governor, and also Nadine Russell, we have another honorary member now. He is, will be a national honorary board member. Jeffrey Frankel has joined our board. He has a nationally recognized photography gallery in Los Angeles, but he also has Louisiana and Baton Rouge ties. So we're very pleased that he's agreed to be an honorary board member. Clark Gernon, who is Clark here? Is Clark here? Clark? Okay. I didn't see him either, but he is the new president of the Friends of the LSU Museum. And so we're very pleased that he's taken on that responsibility. He is a local architect and he has been on the Friends board group for a while, and he is taking over from Susanna Johansson.
Nancy, Michael Amen, who's just been elected as the vice president of Friends, is joining us tonight.
Thank you. I do want to recognize our committee chairs graciously taking on these positions. Margaret Benjamin and Yvette Marsh will be the Board Management Committee Chair and Vice Chair. Ben Jeffers, the Collections Committee Chair. Carol Steinmuller has taken on Development Committee Chair. John Everett continues as Finance Committee Chair. And Stephen Miller will be the Assistant Treasurer following in John's footsteps. So thank you to all of these individuals. Okay, I think it's now Daniel's turn. Thank you.
Before I start, I just want to say thank you to all the board members who are just recognized. There's others that are also in this room, as you saw, current and past board members who have helped to make it all possible. As you heard, I think in some of those names and some of the reports and Nancy's comments, it takes a village to make a museum. And we're very fortunate that the university and our community joined together to create and make this place successful. So I'm going to take you through a bit of a report about the museum. It's always a pleasure to do this, I have to say, because you don't get to do this often enough. This past year has been probably the most challenging year in my professional career, over 40 years now. Actually, it's more like a year and a half. In some ways, the reference, like to Stephen, it really takes us back to, all the way to a prior fiscal year and all the way through this last fiscal year. And our staff, our board, everybody has stuck with us. You members have, and it's greatly appreciated. People give us support in so many different ways. You can see up on the screen. I would also add sponsors, and we'll give some recognition to that as we go. But I want to thank everybody who's involved with the museum. Much of what you're going to see tonight in this report is a visual report. So you'll see pictures, partly because our attendance and visitation was way down, as it was nationally across the world, really, for any museums. One thing I would say to you is that the museum has a huge volume of air when you're upstairs, those 16-foot ceilings, and the air conditioning and filtration system is awesome, and everybody has to wear a mask. So please keep those on tonight. And I am sorry we weren't able tonight to have food and drink, but we made that decision to keep the masks on, especially with the current circumstances in our fine state of Louisiana. These are some of the big kind of entities that, just to give recognition to. The first one up in the upper left, the American Alliance of Museums. They are our national accreditation body, and it's less than 10% of the museums in the country are accredited, and we are one of them. That talks about the standards of operation and management, collection, care, education programs, financial oversight that we maintain. And I just want to give recognition to that organization, because it's a fine one, and we're proud to be part of it. Blue Stars is a program in the National Endowment for the Arts, and it allows us to give free admission to veterans and people who are in service to this country. I won't read every last one of them up there. I hope you've had a chance just to look, but we can't do it without this group of organizations and ultimately individuals. It's an honor to have that kind of support. give you a few numbers today. Our membership stands at only 268 memberships. That's 500 to 600 people at least, because of families and all the rest that actually give support. We had so few receptions, like tonight is one, right? We're doing something that actually 100 people are registered for. A lot, I think, are maybe just coming upstairs. But we had one in November where it was for our Southbound exhibit, and some people came here to see films and then swapped and were upstairs for a reception and tour. And then the one before that takes you all the way back to the prior March when we opened up the Living with Art exhibition, and that was right as this horrendous plague hit our country. Other than that, we have not been doing these sorts of things. So we continue to give tours to students. We continue to have tourists now that they've started to come back with the boat tours at our city. We continue to do our outreach programs, and we'll see more. But we've had that many, and tonight I think if we have 100 really show, it's pretty great. Our website is very active, 33,000. We continue to reach internationally and nationally, and a lot of followers down Facebook and Instagram. And if you are on either of those, or if you're not, I would encourage you to follow the museum. It's a great way to know what's going on at the museum. Our Sarah Amaker, our communications coordinator, does an amazing job on there. This last fiscal year, more than 700 of these art kits were distributed, but actually during the COVID era, over 1,300. We've done them through food distribution sites. We worked with the housing authority. We've done some through the library system. We're very active in trying to get stuff to families. Our Artworks program had to be suspended because school tours were not happening, virtual tours. And we had a commitment to still give creative works and possibilities to the young people in our community. Our NAP program, 580 participants this summer, over 7 weeks. We have an online database on our collection. I'll give you a little more detail later, but over 1,400 of our works, several of the major collection areas are now documented. So you can go on our site and you can learn about them and see them. We have 5 traveling exhibitions out there that are going to be seen in at least 6 states. See that a little bit later too. And literally, we are doubling or greater the access to our exhibits by putting them on the road. And frankly, it's taken the LSU Museum of Art and LSU itself and giving it recognition nationally at many, many institutions. And then we've also created 22 this year YouTube videos, virtual programs and education programs. We really embrace that. I got to give Grant Benoit, our educator, and Courtney Taylor, our curator, but many of our staff were involved. It's amazing what we've done to really, flip a switch and learn new crafts, if you will, and create stuff of meaning. Areas of service, just to remind us, it's all about our mission, right? You have finances, we raise money, we have memberships, but it's about delivery of the thing that we're here to do. It's about the art, and it's about the people. In many ways, really, museums have switched where people come first and art comes second to some ways, at least in our strategic thinking and our attitude, about the visitor experience, about delivering quality, of talking to community, finding out what people want. Let me just hit a little bit with exhibitions. This is a shot inside the Southbound Photographs of and about the New South. If you didn't see it, 125 pictures. It was an incredible experience to immerse yourself in today's South through every kind of iteration you could think. All of our exhibits are supported by our annual exhibition fund sponsors. I want you to see this list. This is a list from last year. We continue to add to it. Some people drop off. We're always looking for people. And it's $1,000 and up, and many of these are much greater than that. And we can't do it again without them. That gives us a pool of money to have resources to plan these projects. We're trying to do 2 or 3 years out sometimes. We have to sign contracts and commit, and it really takes resources. And I just can't thank enough this group of folks. This is an exhibit that way too many of you saw, March to August, right in the middle of COVID and the peak of it, that last year, spring, and horrible period of time. We extended it all the way into this, this current fiscal year, or one under discussion. And it was with Carolyn Dureau, one of the great Louisiana artists and LSU teachers, and very influential nationally, internationally in the printmaking area. And the exhibit was stunningly organized, had a place, those 2 drawers there was where you could actually draw your own caricatures and actually interact. So much of it had to be suspended. I'm glad we extended it. More people saw it. Art classes came to use it. It was spectacular. We did a call to artists in the community. Here's a few examples to the right of some of the artists who actually did submit. And those were framed and hung on the wall over there on that pink part of the picture. We actually hung up community pieces. Another one of our ways to engage and think differently about what art museums do and how you work and co-create with a community. Living with Art really was the fiscal year before, but we extended all the way to September. And we did a lot of virtual programs. We had free Sundays, we had tours. We did a special session on navigating the art market. That's an example of one that's on our YouTube channel. You can go back and listen to a gallery director, an auction house, your director. I mean, we had a dialogue about how you buy art and collect art. And we also had our 15th anniversary celebration with the opening of that show. We had been in this building for 15 years. Here's some shots, just the exhibit. Some of the collectors who lent are in this room, and it was a spectacular opportunity to see an incredible variety of work. We had Letitia Huckabee's exhibition. Letitia specializes in these photo quilts. She uses textiles with photography to make almost a vernacular that is very powerful. Like this hanging clothesline of work is an amazing piece about her mother and about her family relations. And we bought a piece in the show. I'll show you a little bit later. I'll show you the image. We also are preparing now to tour this exhibition. It was really wonderful. The one in the upper left, this large triptych piece, that's a picture of her grandmother, her mima, and it just, the images on the side, the landscape are in Louisiana when she drives home to see her grandmother and to see family. She now lives in Texas, but is still deeply rooted here. It's becoming nationally noted. In fact, I should point out the one in the upper right that you kind of see an angled view of it right here. That's the one we acquired. We're very fortunate to have been able to do that, to keep one forever in our collection. Grant worked on this project where we actually did these quilt making things where people submitted their own sections, sometimes drawings, sometimes graphic works, and we assembled them. Over 200 students and stuff did it. You can see these kids also at one of the schools, Key Academy. They used our online teaching tools and stuff. I mean, very active in ways that are invisible sometimes to you all. Part of the reason I share these things is so that you know your support does this. It hopefully fills your heart and soul and your mind when you come here and visit the exhibits and hear artists or whatever, but also recognize the impact we're having way beyond all of us, and hopefully long-term and meaningful impact. Again, Southbound, spectacular show. I was up for quite a while, had a pretty good attendance. I mean, it went up a little bit in there. Here's the gallery shots, again, just to show you again how rich an experience. I had to go look at the show several times and concentrate on groupings because they were kind of grouped in thematic areas. But it was very powerful. I guess I can't say it more. There is Letitia, who did get to come visit, and it was nice to have her. She also worked with us where in these different galleries, landscape and Newcomb and portraits and silver, you can see where we were able to disperse part of the Southbound exhibit into the galleries. So we actually gave up authority, if you will, and some control to an artist, to a maker, to select out of the show and to place them in these galleries. Very in-depth kind of process. We've been doing these interventions, pieces from exhibits, but also sometimes from our collection into galleries to give commentary. Well, we had Letitia do it. It worked out beautifully. She's actually now doing a big project about the 100-year-old history of Tulsa with the massacre that occurred there, and she has a project she's working on for there too. Very interesting and lovely lady, I have to say. The artist seating was another great one, and it was probably one of the most popular things we've done in a while. It really was both surprising and exciting to me. We opened it up with a virtual gallery talk with Dr. Bridget May from the LSU School of Interior Design. She and Courtney did a walking tour. That is also on our YouTube site. If you weren't able to see the show or participate in that, they did a great history of that exhibition and talked about furniture. And if you think about it, furniture talks about design history over time, and it gives you cultural implications. The show had 200 years. We were able to add to it. When we added to it, we did things like putting Damian Mitchell up, and he was on a program too. Damian's a local maker, designer, and this chair, two position, you could lean forward or back, really interesting. Well, with that, and then works from our own collection, we extended that exhibit 100 years more, so it's 200 years, so it went back to the 18th century, and then we added Damian's, and it came up into the 21st century. So you actually could see chair and design over 400 years of making. Again, I think chairs, I always look at them, for me, they're also a substitute for people. When I see them, I think about what home they were in, who sat in them, what their life might've been like, what their emotional experience, what kind of personalities. It was really fun. And then seeing them in the shows, like these two beautiful chairs in the Silver Gallery, or this chair that was about water really in the Landscape Gallery, which has a lot about environmental issues and environment and ecology, if you will, in that space. To be able to put a chair in that relates to that as a theme. And it's, I have to admit, it's one of the chairs I really wanted to sit in. And I don't do that, but I really wanted to. We also taught, we always teach through exhibits and, 3D printed models. We had kids doing displays and working with them. We worked with LSU's interior design where they created chairs and actually had a competition. I think this might be part of that up there, some of the winners. Very interesting, but the kind of interactions we have with classes from elementary school through to our colleges have become very integral to our success and into our mission. And this show had a lot of that. This one was mentioned earlier, this collection spotlight of recent acquisitions by Black artists. This has been made possible by the REILLY Initiative for Underrepresented Artists. For me, it's a game changer. One of the things that we really recognized over the years were that we did not represent diversity on our walls. So all of our visitors that were here did not necessarily see faces that they might recognize or know. And frankly, not only is that important, it's important for everybody to be looking at each other too, to expand our understanding. And our portrait gallery, you'll see a picture later, has been profoundly changed. And there's a Letitia. This piece by Ratcliffe Bailey. If you've ever been to the Atlanta airport, there's one place where you go down some staircases, and above it's a huge mural by Ratcliffe. Very, very important, internationally known artist. Whitfield Lavelle, one of the Genius Award winners, a very subtle piece. And I would encourage you to go into this gallery tonight. It's up there now and very much worth seeing. We do have a virtual artist talk by Madeline Sneed-Grays on September 12th, which means literally you can sign up for it, get on your computer, get on your phone, and you can hear this artist talk. And we'll also record it. This gives you a sense of just the gallery. This piece, Mario Moore, I know we haven't set a date yet, but we're working on a talk with him. But this piece that deals with the Civil War, it's kind of a then and now experience. That's actually going to a major exhibit down at Arthur Rogers Gallery this fall also. As part of Prospect New Orleans that they do, Prospect NOLA, that international triennial that they do. Here we are in the galleries. This is Madeline Sneed-Grays' portrait. And when you see it in the gallery, it's magical. This initiative has given us over $500,000 in the production of both acquisitions of new works for our collection. It has helped our staff to go through the Up by For All Change Network. We're a member of that, which is working to think differently about how we operate, some of what I've already talked about. We also have a curatorial fellowship in African American art, a 2-year fellowship for a curatorial fellow. And Clark Brown, I don't think Clark is in the room. Oh, Clark is back here. Clark, thank you. Clark has just joined us a couple weeks ago. She's a graduate of NYU's Museum Studies program and will be actively involved. In fact, you're going to be interviewing Madeline Sneed-Grays, right? We're very excited to have her join us. It's another thing about making this institution better, frankly, and more responsive to the changes in the world. And you can see the list of artists with Dred Scott and David Halliday's pieces, Madeline Sneed-Grays, Carrie Mae Weems. That really was the first piece that Winifred helped us acquire. It's a major piece up on the wall in the gallery. You might recognize it when you see it. Gordon Parks, Ratcliffe Bailey, Katrina Andre, Sonia Clark's the newest one to join us, Whitfield Lavelle, Mario Moore, John T. Biggers, Damon Melifon, and Letitia Huckabee. And it continues. These are so significant to the growth and change. We also update and rotate our galleries all the time. And, that's one of the things we try to do, whether it's a full change or whether it's a new piece inserted. When you go through the permanent collection galleries, you will see new relationships and see artwork having new dialogues. I would encourage you to take a look. I think you'd enjoy it. I think the Queen of Itchy Water is pretty wonderful when you go see her. We're really lucky to have that joining our collection. This is some of the virtual programs back to July of 20, but it continues. Again, we've had 22 of them and they're recorded, plus the educational programs that we have. And if you go to YouTube and search the LSU Museum of Art, it will come up. And then there's also an E1, and that's the education stuff. So you can sit back at leisure and watch one while you have a glass of wine at home, or, project it on your TV. These are the 4 traveling exhibits I referred to. Katrina Andre, many of you might remember this very powerful exhibit that we did. It is just starting to travel. We're going to Hendrix College this coming, actually, I'm sorry, it did go. And actually, Courtney Taylor, our curator, did a virtual lecture for it too, as the curator of the project. That's her alma mater. We're just starting to try to get that across the country. Painting Enlightenment, many of you might remember that show. It had the big Zen garden in our galleries, a very powerful kind of installation. Well, it just has been extended. It'll almost be a year now at the Murakami Museum and Japanese Gardens. It's in Del Rey, Florida. If any of you are in Florida, I'd encourage you to go visit. It's, I think, 30-acre gardens, just stunningly beautiful, plus a museum building, and our show is there. Really powerful. And frankly, the book is now out for that too. I think it might still be in our shop. Our usual suspects that Carrie Mae Weems did, you can see it's now going to Connecticut, Georgia, New Jersey, all the way through to October of 22. I think that might be the end of the tour. It's been out a fairly long time. It primarily has been going to colleges and universities intentionally, wishes of the artist and ourselves. And Letitia is just starting to get going, and it's actually going to go over to Lake Charles as our first stop, which is nice to see a Louisiana artist kind of get recognized in her own state. Education, here just to give you the new sites, Zion Terrace, Ardenwood Village, and Montesano Village, where they did paper making, screen printing. They worked with clay. They worked on portraits. They did plein air painting. You can see the kids down here doing that. They're actually set up on easels, really becoming true artists, I think, in a way. The work I see coming out of these programs always inspires me. Kids make amazing stuff. They have not put on the filters that culture can sometimes put on adults, that all of you drop your filters too. Enjoy this and find your own mark. The Baton Rouge Housing Authority was a new thing for us, and we ventured more with the Baton Rouge Arts Council too. Here's Grant literally with his tripod and his camera, working on a lesson plan, working for Big Buddy, doing things, our NAP art kits, the art walk. We had the school system where they did this whole event where thousands of people came down, and we had work upstairs in the gallery and downstairs on the lobby level of this building as part of that multi-part walking art tour. We've started to get suitcases. We got these great old ones that we're going to turn into virtual little museums, if you will, that we can distribute and go around through schools with. Kind of an old-fashioned idea. It used to be done a lot, like a museum and a valise. But I really love the idea that we're heading that way. Online resources are rich. Again, the Arts Council programs, 4 Saturdays in May and June. Want to recognize, she's not here tonight, but Luann Greenwald, who's one of our advisory board members and lives in Lafayette. She drove over here and actually volunteered one of the days when we were actually doing that. If you ever, any of you want to volunteer or help out in different ways, please don't hesitate to offer yourself to one of the staff members and make sure we get your information or email us. We love to have help. Here we are in collections, and that's the Radcliffe Bailey piece, which is a stunning example of his work. When you go see it, you'll see the tree that really is kind of like the family tree. Railroad, which is really referencing the Underground Railroad, and the moon. You can sight your way by the moon. Very powerful work and beautiful with these kind of quilt blocks that's making up its surface. It's just a spectacular work. This is the newest piece that we've just gotten by Sonia Clark. I just love French braid and cornrow. What is the difference? How do they compare? What's it tell you about cultures, what we call them, how we view them? We had it on loan to the National Museum of Women in the Arts for several months, and it finally just came back to us. That museum is closing for a major multi-million-dollar renovation and change. I don't know if you've ever been there. It's a spectacular building in Washington, but we are very fortunate to acquire this. She continues to get written up in the press all over the place. She's really combining fiber work with culture in different ways. Art has really gotten beyond just painting and sculpture and different media, like the photo quilts that we had in the show with Letitia Huckabee, or here it is with muslin and hair, and very different sort of work, and a profound one, I think. So 1,422 artworks are on the website. We added 289 this year, and areas that we have up there for you to, if you want to go look, is much of our photography collection, which is about doubled in size in the last 5 years. The Newcomb pottery, which is highly sought after and researched. The E. John Bullard American Studio Ceramics collection. That's a promised gift to us, and it now numbers, well, as of today, I think it's going to number 104 pieces. I wanted to tell you that just for today only, the catalog came in hot off the presses just a little while ago. It's just stunningly beautiful. It'll be for sale upstairs and in the shop. And tonight only, because you came out in the rain and you were here at this annual meeting, a 20% discount. Normally as members you get 10, and we just doubled that, so it'll be a $20 book if you want. It's $25 normally. And of course, if you still want to pay $25, you're welcome to. This has taken a lot of work, and Sarah Amacher, I got to give her credit again, as our graphic designer and our communications coordinator, did an amazing job with it. One of the things that's fun is the front cover. That's one side of the piece, that's the other side of the piece, and the back cover does the same thing. One side of the piece, and then the other side of the piece. And this is full color, I mean, all the way through. I think you'll enjoy it. It's a real good compendium to this collection. And I can't wait. John Bullard is going to be joining us for the reception a little later. He's driving up from New Orleans, and he hasn't seen it yet. I'm very excited to share that with him. Acquisitions, 6 museum purchases, 31 gifts this year, and then 3 transfers from the School of Art. And those were works that were done by visiting artists in 2 cases, and one of them was done by a graduate student, and both of them are very important new additions. And then we conserved works, because you don't always think about that, what it takes to do this work. We have to care for this material. And we had 5 artworks conserved for exhibition. We had 1 done also additionally through our Adopt a Work program, which is a fundraiser we do with our director circle, asking them to contribute dollars, and they can pick a piece or they can put it into the fund for us. And we did Alberta Kinsey's one out of some of the funds. And then 6 more were done through the Adopt a Work 2020. We haven't done one Adopt a Work this year because we didn't have the kind of social event we usually use to raise the funds, but we can't conserve without them. I'll also say that John Bullard, who gave us a ceramic collection, he also contributed to the repair, if you will, conservation of 3 pieces. So he's a generous financial donor and also a donor of objects of great worth. We're very fortunate that way. And these are just some highlights. This piece that Mary Joseph gave by our own Frank Hayden, who, you know, local great artist. I just love that it's a jury box. You know, it's kind of a fun idea. Mario Moore through the REILLY Initiative, Madeline C. Graves through the REILLY Initiative. These are 2 of the 3 pieces that were done through transfer. This one is on exhibit in the lobby when you get off the elevator off to the right, by Akio Takamori. It's one of the few that was done here by a visiting artist that was glazed and completed. Most of them are only bisque fired, which you'll see in the Boneyard show. And then, you know, 2 more, there's again, Letitia's, and up above it is the Elmore Morgan, a very important Louisiana artist. Those are just examples of some of the quality of work that we're getting in our collection. Now, this show, how many of you remember the Adore Adorn exhibition, the jewelry exhibition? I hope some of you saw that. Pretty spectacular exhibit. Well, we were very fortunate that it won a silver award for exhibits under 10,000 in our region of 12 states. I want to also point out that this magazine that you get every quarter, it was given a gold medal as the best of our region. You know, editorially and design-wise, we've completely, I think, revamped what we're doing. And then our poster for the 15th anniversary won a gold award also. It's fun to be able to work with this Diego Rivera portrait of Carolyn Duro, to actually have that, and you know, again, designed by our designer. But this work editorially and the content of this, with our curator, with our educator, with our development director, everybody is doing work that is significant to make these all possible. And we're getting the kind of recognition that you know, is gratifying, and it really, you know, reminds me of the quality of the team that works here. You know, I'll pause just for a second. Here's some in your own words, which I think is fun. You've got a curatorial assistant who's gained a deeper respect and understanding for exhibits, curation, and preservation. And Kirsten worked with us all last year and is coming back again this year to work with us. Or Thomas Bergman on a Google review, went to the artist seating and thoroughly enjoyed it. Next visit will be sooner rather than later. Claire Kane, an art teacher at the Key Academy, the resources we provided have made a huge and positive impact on our students as well as the teachers. You know, so we're reaching the way we want. And the last one of our employees standing there by Letitia's, you know, big triptych portrait. I love all of Letitia's works. Her work really captures the reverence felt for matriarchs. Very powerful kind of statements and personal. And I don't know, like, I'm sure some of you could write us an email or do something on a you know, one of those app things, right? You could do something, write a comment, because what this really is about, I think, is what it does to you also. I don't believe any of you would be here tonight if what we do and the artwork we present didn't affect you in a way that keeps you coming back. And that to me is the bottom line. Just briefly to look ahead, 2 exhibits I want to mention. And this year's collaboration with the School of Art will feature visiting artist Candace Lynn. Her exhibition, Agnotology of Tigers, will feature some recent works based on archival images of the LSU Chinese Bandits, which was a defense squad in the 1950s, when we won the first national championship, alongside a new configuration of one of her installations, La Charanda China. Well, her installation illuminates histories of social violence and a politics of forgetting that can obscure the history of indentured Chinese labor, and, you know, also recognize some of the lingering stereotypes. We've had recently an awful lot of commentary about the kind of attacks on Asians in our country in a way that is profoundly confusing to me. I don't understand it. And this show is going to dig into it. She's also going to be one of the prospect artists in New Orleans. The other one is the State of the Art 2020 called Record is a section. It presents a cross section of contemporary artists working in the United States. It's going to bring together artists that are exploring kind of the slippery task of tangling with history. Like when is an artwork a record of something, right? A way arts can express concepts that sometimes words can't express. How some artists apply rationality to the random. It's organized by the Crystal Bridges Museum. Many of you may know that museum up in Arkansas, founded by a major, beautiful, beautiful place, founded by really one of the Walton family members. It's become one of the most important museums in the country. And Art Bridges, which is a foundation that Alice Walton also founded, has been a big sponsor of a lot of what we're doing. In fact, they are helping us fund this exhibition from Crystal Bridges. It's a nationally touring project of contemporary art that will include many installations. We're going to be bringing artists in, hopefully working also with some LSU students to help in some of the installations and meet with these artists. We'll have virtual programs. It's very exciting, I think. Ongoing goals. This kind of reiterates what if you were here last year, it's these four big areas. One is about the LSU Diversity Inclusion Roadmap. It is something that collectively our university is working diligently and with advances towards. And Dr. Derek Roveris, who's on our board, heads up the office and actually was the one who coordinated the cross-campus and lengthy process to develop it 3 years ago now, I think. We were ahead of that curve and are continuing it. And diversity is one of our core values, if you think about it. And it's a diversity of individuals. And there's so many different ways that word happens and what it means. Our collection growth, our accountability and engagement are really a priority. We're going to prioritize diversity, equity, access, and inclusion, really part of national museum efforts. And this year, our board members and staff are going to be working on a plan for that, something with a focus kind of to help us with some of the steps. As part of that, we use art as a platform to bridge differences. I would always encourage you to go upstairs and look at something you don't know or don't understand or have never seen before and ask questions of it. Go back and see the things you love, but then go to the things that challenge you, things that are different, that are made by a person unlike you. Because if you want to understand differences, it's one of the great ways to do it. And it's one of the easiest and most fun ways, frankly, through the visual arts. We're going to develop a community engagement council. And we're also, this year, going to be doing some audience visitor experiences surveys. Derek?
Yeah, I just wanted to add in terms of the support for diversity, my staff, came here for our fall retreat. Most of the retreat on the other side of this last wall, we did some of it in this space. We toured the museum. I just want to let you know that Daniel had a wonderful setup looking for a place to host a meeting or to bring a team in like that.
Thank you, Derek.
This was excellent. And by the way, he didn't let us go. He kept coming back to all of our sessions.
Yeah, well, let's get this right. Derek and his staff didn't let me go. I was out here recording things and they didn't have enough people. I had to step in and be part of the team building exercise. It was a blast. Good group of folks, actually. Thank you for that. That was a good ad for the use of our spaces. And then the last one that's up here is ensure sustainability. And that's where your membership comes in, where the sponsorships come in, where planned gifts come in, where gifts of art come in. It's all about our sustainability and money to help conserve the works that we have to make sure they're here for generations. We're also applying our marketing efforts to diversify and build audience awareness and support through our Of By For All program, through this kind of accountability standards, through some unlearning. That was a phrase we used this year. There's many people, I think in the last couple of years, through social turmoil and change and through a pandemic, we've had to unlearn things and learn new things. And while doing that, I think the world is changing it for the better. I think I'm getting close to the last things. There's a flyer, I think, on all the chairs, and it has some of the programs coming up. The first one actually is Thursday, the 26th of August, next Thursday night. We are having Garth Johnson, who wrote a major essay for a catalog, the curator of ceramics at the Everett Museum, one of the finest ceramic collections in the country and one of the oldest, wrote an essay, but he's also going to be doing a talk for us next week. We also have on here is the one with Madeline Steed Graves. But you also see that there's some demos where you can just drop in and you can see hands-on art making upstairs. By doing that, you see the wetware, as it's called, as they're working in clay. You see the bisqueware in the Boneyard exhibition. So that's stuff that's been fired but not glazed. And then you go see the Form and Fire exhibition. You see masterpieces of finished ceramics. There are QR codes in there you can scan with your phone and actually register for those. So I hope to see some of you at those. Again, there's Garth looking at ceramics. We're really excited about both his work for the catalog and also his talk. Again, Madeline, and again, this portrait's stunning and kind of stops you in your tracks when you're up there looking at it. This is Candace Lynn, who I talked about a little bit ago. And then our gallery reception's happening, and I'll turn this back over to Nancy to close out the meeting, but I wanted to give credit and thanks to this list of sponsors. This nearly 100-page catalog could not have been done without them. John Bullard, of course, nothing would have happened if the artwork hadn't arrived, right? And if it wasn't being promised. And then Catherine Burns Tremaine from New Orleans, a new sponsor to us who did it for her friend John, quite honestly. Becky and Warren Gatzigan, who are sitting over there, I want to thank you both. Bob and Linda Boucher, Bob and Linda, you're over here. I want to thank them. I know they love helping to produce catalogs, and you did. And also Debbie De La Huesa and Lake Douglas. Lake is back there. Lake's one of our faculty, and we're very lucky to have him do that. And Brian and Jackie, and Brian is here. We're very fortunate to be able to produce something like this because this is a collection catalog. So again, thank you to all of them, and I'll turn it back to Nancy. Nancy, where'd you go? Okay. Yep.
Again, I just want to thank all of you for coming. Please know that we appreciate every one of y'all. So now please go enjoy Form and Fire and the Boneyard exhibition. And this concludes the 2021 annual meeting. Thank you so much.